This is an open letter to my fellow Germans. Bravo Germany. Bravo Germans. And I say bravo because I say fellow German. I say bravo because this is the Bravo kind of a series. Bank of America closed my account because I was criticizing too much. So I have to start every letter with bravo. No criticism here, just bravo all around. Maybe Wells Fargo opens my bank account again. Anyway, so bravo Germans, fellow Germans. Why fellow Germans? Because here's the thing. Apparently there was always a myth between the Iranians that the Germans are Iranians. We always thought it was a myth. It was something that, you know, the Iranians have made up. And, you know, somebody, for better or worse, tried to connect these two. But apparently, according to, you know, people who know a lot more than I do, there is some truth to that. Apparently, you know, apparently not only the Germans are from Iran, but they're from Kerman. So when I say fellow Germans, it's because, you know, my parents were both from Kerman. So it seems, you know, German apparently that's the Germanification of the word Kerman. So Kerman becomes German and German becomes German. German becomes German. Anyway, so this changing the pronunciation of words apparently by one account. By a few accounts, more than a few accounts. So if that is true, therefore I say fellow Germans. Because, you know, we're both from Kerman. My point is this. Bravo. Bravo, it seems you're as stupid as I am. You're going down the same path for how many times now? The path that says you have a few rich people on top now own everything in Germany. You know, a couple of hundred people on top. Couple of thousand people on top own everything. And now they don't feel that, you know, they feel in order for the growth to take place, for them to have more growth, you know, money, wealth-wise growth, they need to have, you know, free access to some resources. They don't want to pay for those resources. Because if they have to pay, it cuts into their, you know, you get the resource, you add productivity to it, you sell your machinery. You sell your productivity by adding productivity to raw material. The very wealthy in Germany, those very wealthy on top, as I said, as a group, the 1%, they have realized that, okay, we have added all the productivity we could have added, and now we are just breaking even. We are making the same profits as we were making last year. Therefore, the only way to make my business more profitable is to try to get resources for free, so I don't have to pay for it. And these folks are taking you to war through these stupid politicians that you have chosen in Germany, who to me they all look like bureaucrats. Your politicians look like bureaucrats. The only politician in Europe that doesn't look like a bureaucrat just doesn't even look like a bureaucrat. Everybody else even looks like a bureaucrat. The only one who doesn't look like a bureaucrat is the one from Hungary. You know, the one from Hungary is the only one who doesn't look, and the one from Russia. They don't look like a bureaucrat, they don't act like a bureaucrat, and they want to have peace. Every one of the minions leadership of Europe They all look like a bureaucrat, act like a bureaucrat. Mr. Stammer in England, Stammer, Keir Stammer, it looks like a fucking nail in the wall. It's like top to bottom, bureaucrat, with 20 clean white shirt in his closet and has been that way since he was 18. 20 clean white. The bureaucratic leadership of Europe is following the stupid wants of the 1% in Europe, trying to access Russian resources or Ukrainian, Eastern European resources without paying for it. Just have it with little or no pay. And the North American banks also don't mind having a finger in that pie. Why not? BlackRock. Why not? Why can't they be the owner of the Ukrainian soil? Hopefully, it won't turn radioactive, because then nobody can use it. Anyway, Ukrainian soil that is so valuable, if it becomes fucking radioactive, then what you're going to drive productivity out of? It's just that my fellow Germans, your leadership are a bunch of doors. They're top to bottom bureaucrats, and they're listening to the 1% in Europe who see all the poor, but they don't want to share what they have with the poor, with the societies, so everybody in society can have a normal life. No, they want to keep what they have, but there's so many fucking poor that they want to start a war over resources, and it's even better if we can get rid of the poor by killing them. So if we get rid of the poor, I can keep my wealth, and the poor are gone. I don't have to feel bad about myself. Salute. This is the mindset of the rich in basically NATO alliance. That's the mindset. The rich who control the bureaucrats, and the politicians who are chosen from the bureaucratic rank, and bureaucratic personalities are, the only one that is not following that path is basically what you are calling strongman. What do you mean, strongman? I'm sorry, stronger man than Mr. Biden? Multiple wars at the same time. I'm sorry. You tell the guy who wants peace, you call him a strong man. But these guys who are at war all the time, these guys are not strong men. Then maybe I didn't understand the definition of strong man. The political definition of strong man is somebody who wants to get their way, even if it means shedding blood. That would be the definition of strongman. I see Viktor Orban is the one who's saying that no, we don't want war, and you call him a strongman. Okay, my point is this, my fellow Germans. You're being pushed down the wrong path by your politicians. That is going to end in multiple wars, another world war. Why? The reason is simple, as I said. Your politicians are bureaucrats, and these bureaucrats have been bought and paid for by the 1%. The 1% doesn't mind war. The 1% have got their bunkers ready. They have their money stashed in gold. The 1% don't care about nuclear war, because they got it. They think they got it covered, and it's like the reality is no, you don't have it covered. You don't know what happens after a major nuclear war. No one knows what happens. There are all kinds of, wild ideas, but, the very wealthy with, nuclear bunkers think they can get away with it. Keep their wealth and gamble to see if they can increase their wealth by owning other guys' resources. And if they gamble, if it pays off, now they have double the resources and have their enemies dead. But if they lose, it's going to be all the poor people die. Who cares? I'm going to be in my bunker. You see the problem here? So, my fellow Germans, you're being led down that path. There is no reason for this rush into growth of, there is no reason for this rush into growth, into, these ultra wealthy 1% wanting to keep all the wealth and take the poor to war and eliminate them during the process of a war. That's just, that's just not kosher. And, it has happened multiple times in your history that from Europe you have attacked Russia. And every time you got the same answer. One would say, you don't want to say my fellow people from Kerman are this dumb who make the same mistake 50 times and think that there is going to, follow politicians who take them to war because the rich don't want to redistribute the wealth. The rich think they're going to take their money to the other world with them. Fuck. It's unfortunate, folks. It's you're being led down the wrong path. You're being led down the wrong path. You're being led down the wrong way. All the German industry, those industries that these rich people were so proud of, that was making so much wealth for them, they have gambled it. Mercedes. Who do you think runs your politician? Mercedes and BMW and Audi, these people who own these run your politicians. You think a politician would have any career if multiple of these corporations didn't like them? If multiple of these corporations didn't like a politician, that politician eventually would no longer be a politician. This is how they operate. So if they have left these politicians who reach the top, if they have left them alone, it's because they do exactly as they say. For whatever reason. Maybe it's money, maybe it's just stupidity, maybe it's corruption, maybe for whatever reason, these leaders that you have in Europe specifically and, North America, they have followed exactly what the corporations have said. What the corporations have wanted. Or else they wouldn't have reached the top. And the higher you go, the more, in line the politician is with the corporations. Or else they will not back him. And what the corporations want is what the 1% want. What the 1% want is, okay, it's been 75 years, no major wars. I have accumulated all my wealth. My family, we have been in it for 3 generations since the Great War of World War II. Since then, our family has been in business, and now we are all wealthy and happy and blah blah blah. Now I don't want to share it with my fellow Germans. So I call the politician and I say, we are not making enough profits because we don't have cheaper access to Russian resources. If we had cheaper access to Russian resources, we would make more profits. So this manufacturer, this corporation, contacts the politicians and says, hey, if we can cut our cost in import of raw material, i.e. if we could own Russian assets where they are on the ground, we could double our profits. So how about, not playing ball with the Russians? Not understanding that there should be at least one space of countries between these two great powers, the West and the East. At least one line of countries. Even the Baltic states, Slovenia and Malovania and Opolovania, although those three sisters, and Ukraine should be logical. It is to a 5-year-old, to a donkey, understands that one line of countries should be the neutral zone between East and West. And that line of country, should play nice with each other. Play nice with both sides. That's the only solution. But it's not the Russians who are not okay with the neutral line. It's the West. The 1% in Germany and the 1% in France and the 1% in England who have these politicians, these bureaucrats in charge, these politicians who are actually bureaucrats. Personality-wise, they're bureaucrats. You see, the thing with Trump is that he's not a bureaucrat. I think that's his ace in the hole. That he's not a bureaucrat, and he may have the chance to fix the system, because a bureaucrat like Harris there would be no chance of fixing it. Harris wouldn't even say that anything we did wrong or anything I would do differently during this administration that I was just with. She couldn't be disloyal. She couldn't say, yeah, I don't agree. She couldn't say on Thursday that she doesn't agree what she said on Wednesday, because that would just look silly. So I'm not surprised why she was surprised that she lost. It's been a bad time, a lot of blood and gore on the screen, and a lot of poverty and shit on this side of the screen. And if you can't say you don't like this, then you're not going to win. But you can't say you don't like this, because then they say, but you are in charge. What do you mean you don't like this? If you don't like this, why didn't you change it? Anyway, my point is this: all these politicians in the Western Hemisphere, they are indistinguishable from bureaucrats. And the problem with bureaucrats and bureaucrat mentality is that you work for somebody else. When you work for somebody else, you kind of are good at taking orders. And rich people, the 1%, very rich. When I say rich, I'm sorry, if you have 2 cars or 3 cars, that really doesn't qualify as rich. Rich means, the guy who owns a couple of states, owns a couple of countries, he's got he's at the top of a bank who owns so much shit he can't count. He can't keep count. He has to have accountants to keep track of his shit. When you have to have an accountant to keep track of your shit, that means you got too much shit. Then you may qualify as rich if you have an accountant on a regular basis. So my point is this: people with accountants are good at giving orders. and politicians who are bureaucrat minded. I understand Mr. Sarkozy, not Sarkozy, this new guy. Uh, well, Sarkozy too. These motherfuckers are all bureaucrats. This last one who's in charge right now, the guy with the big nose. Macron, the gentleman was a bureaucrat with, A level, B level, maybe B level or A level bureaucrat, and he was just pulled out. Some money was put behind him as a candidate for, hey, let's go, freedom, democracy, here's the candidate, and people, and he looked good on TV, and they voted for him. But his chosen field was being a bureaucrat, taking orders, following procedures, So you see what I'm saying? So all of these guys are bureaucrats. The kind of bureaucrats that actually go to nail salons. Men who go to nail salons and women. I mean, you look at them, German foreign minister, she belongs behind the desk, way back in the back. She probably can keep track of your beans. But she's not a politician. She's a bean counter. And the bean counter, the problem with the bean counter is that they take orders. Is she taking orders from? The circles of rich people that she cares to impress. Circles of rich people that she cares to impress, she takes orders from them. Those circles are the problem circles, because those circles are the ones who want to have access to. They don't want to pay for resources. They don't want to trade for resources. They want to own the resource. Whether be it in Africa or in Russia or in South America, they want to own the resource. These 1% rich in Germany, in France, in England. They want to have access to resources for free. They want to own those resources. They don't want to pay for those resources. Just like the president of Mali had recently said, that we have all the gold mines, but France has all the gold. How is that working? And we are living in poverty. How is that working? Why is this working like this? If we have the gold mines, we should have the gold, not the poverty. Again, this is you can call it a French magic. You can call it the British magic. You have the gold, and then this process of refining gold is very, very, it's a very well guarded secret. You don't know how to refine gold in Ghana or in Mali. We refine gold in France, and we send you some cash for it. We send you some euro dollars for it. Anyway, and food aid. Some euro dollars and food aid. My point is this, that my fellow Germans from Kerman, your politicians are bad. You're bureaucrats. Not that they're bad, they're good. But they're very good bureaucrats. And these bureaucrats are not taking orders from you. These bureaucrats are in the business of impressing the rich people that they like to impress. You see what I'm saying? Her boyfriend is a very rich guy who wants to impress other rich people who hoping to increase his social status. So, she's invited to some parties and get together with some very rich, wealthy people who she likes to impress. I'm talking about for example, the foreign minister of Germany. She's literally is trying to impress the wrong kind of people. Therefore, she's taking this defensive posture, this offensive posture that yes, no, we should teach Russia a lesson. I want to ask this woman, who are you trying to impress, Miss Annelyn? Annelyn, who are you trying to express? Who are you trying to impress in German society by making such a foolish decision not to understand that you need at least one line of countries who are neutral between the West and the East, because you people are too violent. So you need at least one line of countries who are obligated to be nice on both sides, to be nice to both sides. That means Ukraine has to be neutral. It just, as well as those three sisters above Ukraine. It's just common sense. But you broke it. You added country after country up to the border of Russia. Why? You're expanding. Yes, we all like to have a bigger territory. Who doesn't? No, they want to be under our jurisdiction. Can Russia ask if Cuba wants to be under their jurisdiction? Can Russia ask if Gibraltar would like to be under their jurisdiction? And Russia can put a couple of nuclear bombs on Gibraltar and tell you that they want to be under our jurisdiction. It's not your problem. A coup d'etat and a couple of nuclear bombs on Gibraltar, and that's Russian territory. Prove them wrong. I mean, to drive up the other guy's ass, it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. When you have the power, you think you have the power. Yeah, after the war, Volkswagen went back to work. Some members of the family of Volkswagen or its major stockholder of Volkswagen found their way back to Germany, and the wealth was returned back to them. They imported some Turks, some fucking Mongols into Germany in order to help build Germany, because they killed all the Germans. The owners of Volkswagen and the owners of Coca-Cola and the owners of Benz and the 1% of Germany who thought that, they don't want to share, they don't understand this capitalism business, or they think they understand it too well. Once you made the money, why you want to share the money? So the money goes in one way. Okay. At the end, okay, we need more money, so let's go see if we can. And we don't like to see all these poor around in the city. They cost too much. This idea that says we don't want to pay for the healthcare of the poor, welfare of the poor of our own society, but we have money to go over there and kick some ass. That's, who thinks that way? A very wealthy guy. The 1% think that, I don't mind the shit show in my own backyard. I don't see them. But, Ukraine has a lot of riches, has a very strategic value for me and my corporation. Okay? And the bureaucratic politician take orders. Olaf Scholz himself, he looks to me like a bureaucrat. That's what he is. He's a bureaucrat. He can play act. He can act as if he's tougher than thou, and he can talk a little shit. But I'm sorry, Mr. Olaf Scholz, but you're a bureaucrat. You have no business being in politics because you take orders too much. And the orders you're taking are from the rich Germans. That's a bad idea. You're taking Germany to war because the rich don't want to share, and the rich don't mind getting the poor killed. So you talk tough and you want to go to Moscow. You think you can go to Moscow. Mr. Olaf Scholz, I mean, please. You're the leader of people from Kerman, and you're a bad leader. You're a bureaucrat. You have no business being in politics. You should be behind a desk, maybe a high-level desk. You should be an A-level undersecretary. You should be an A-level undersecretary, but not in politics, because you take orders too well, and you're taking orders from the rich Germans. You're not taking orders from you don't understand what is in the best interest of the ordinary Germans. In the best interest of ordinary Germans is that we don't mind not having economic growth, as long as we can continue as we are living in a normal life. And we really don't care about more economic growth. You start, taking your money out of bank. The 1% should take their money out of bank and start doing something, or handing it to people who can do things with it. But you don't do that. You just say, okay, there are too many poor people, we can't pay for their health care and welfare, so why not feed them to a war machine? Are you kidding me? How many times this has to happen? What, this time you're going to import people from after you get all your people killed, the German rich are going to import people from Afghanistan? Last time it was from Turkey. This time let's get all our people killed, then we can import some from Afghanistan. Are you fucking kidding me? In Germany, the German rich people should understand that this time if you kill all your people, nobody's gonna give you any more people. Everybody has learned their lesson. You get people killed. The German rich get people killed. Please get rid of these politicians. Find somebody like Trump. Find somebody who's not a politician, who has some common sense and has some balls in his pants, and can say no to people. Is not very easily impressed by wealthy people, because he's wealthy himself. But the worst kind are these bureaucrat-minded politicians who are very impressed by poor rich people, and they also want to be rich themselves, and they're very impressed by rich people, and shit, the whole thing goes to shit. Rich people usually don't have good intentions. They don't. How they have become rich? By being paranoid and mean and vindictive. We all know the mindset of, forgive me, Mr. Bezos, it's not a personal attack. The mindset of somebody like Jeff Bezos, the mindset of, how to dominate the market. That mindset. It's ruthless. It has to be. That's how it creates what it creates. How it has resulted into Amazon the way it has, domination and all what it takes to, or Mr. Bill Gates. These folks are not bad by nature, but the whole concept of domination thing and how their personalities are, and even their second in command, the third in command, these the 1% with them that become 1% because of that mindset of domination. You should be worried that they are become too selfish, because they have that mindset. They were selfish. That's why they were able to dominate their field. their market. If you take advice from them as a politician, as a bureaucrat trying to act like as a politician, things go bad, because the domination mindset is the mindset that says, I am Dick Cheney and I am somebody in Halliburton, and I'm going to dominate the oil market in the Middle East by putting soldiers on every country in the Middle East and making sure Chevron and Exxon and Halliburton has a seat at the table of the Middle Eastern resources. Oil. At least I make sure that Chevron, Exxon, and BP, British Petroleum, has a seat at the table of auction or work or profits. This is the mindset of that goes to war in Iraq. Politicians who take orders from the rich because they are bureaucratic minded. That's trouble. The rich never have enough. The 1% never have enough. They always want more. Because that's their mindset. They want more. You see, here's the thing. You see a guy sleeping by the road, that's his mindset. At that point, he doesn't want anything more. This is he's been homeless for 5 years. It's like if he has just a little more than this, that means a place of his own, he wouldn't be making any trouble until the end of his life. You see what I'm saying? But his mindset is not to dominate. So if you give the decision making, if the politician listens to the lower class who are happy with average, everything works fine. The problem is if the politician listens to people who are not about happy average, they're about domination. Taking politician who takes orders from people who like to dominate, then you have war. They want to dominate in economy, they want to dominate in military, they want to dominate in this, and they want to dominate in that. It's like, fuck's sake, go see a psychiatrist, see what's your issue. But trying convincing, George W. Bush or Dick Cheney or even my father, trying to convince them to go see a psychiatrist. Good luck. My point is this, that folks, fellow Germans, this is bullshit. Your politicians are sending you down the wrong path. Very, very bad path. You have been down the French, the fucking British, all of you have been down this path before. The British have fucking poems about how many of their peasants they lost on Crimea. That poem about getting peasants killed in Crimea, getting British peasants killed in Crimea. It's a very well-known poet in England. Their monarchy in England, their politicians who take orders from their monarchy, and the 1% who are, in the same class as the monarchy, partners with the monarchy. The 1% in England are basically partners with the monarchy. They stand together. They all together are part of the 1%. These guys have got British peasants killed left and right. They can't kill enough of their own peasants because they are keeping all the wealth. They want to keep all the wealth, and they don't want to see too many of these peasants living in poverty because they don't like to see it. It looks bad for them. So the British can't wait to get rid of their peasants, even if it means killing them off by the millions in war. At World War One, couple of million British died. War of choice, because they were fighting in Europe. That's a war of, if you're fighting on somebody else's land, that's a war of choice. It's not a war of necessity. Uncle Sam's military in Afghanistan, that's a war of choice. It's not a war of necessity. They try to sell it as a war of, if your soldier has to be in somebody else's land, that's not a war of necessity. That's a war of choice. Let's be clear on that. And the Russian soldiers in Ukraine is a war of choice, because as much as the Russians try to explain to you it's better for us to have a buffer zone, you didn't listen. Estonia, Slovenia, Polonia, those three, you took them in, which would have made a great buffer zone. And then it was time for Ukraine and Georgia and Azerbaijan, and let's see if we can circle Russia with our buddies. Our buddies, your buddies. What do you mean by our buddies? Ukraine, suddenly the actor Jakov is a buddy, because all the armament that he's using is all cost money, and one day Ukraine has to pay back this money by giving away the resources for almost free to the same corporations which sold them the armament. That's being in debt. What it means as a country, being in debt means if you borrow during wartime, you have to pay back during peace. And if you don't have anything to pay it back with except minerals, then you sell the minerals almost at the price that the buyer calls, because you owe them and you're a friend of them. You have democracy and freedom. You have democracy and freedom? Fucking A. They're not alive. If I'm not alive, I don't care what I have. Why would I care who is ruling who, by what measure and what means, if I'm not alive? If half of Ukrainian people are not alive, do they care who they're paying their taxes to? Are you fucking kidding me? My fellow Germans, this is madness. Your politicians are a bunch of bureaucrats. They're less than they are. I can just imagine the German politician Annalena Baerbock, the German foreign minister. She's dead inside. She's like a bureaucrat, true and true. Just a paper pusher. And she takes orders from a group of rich people that she likes to impress. Circle of rich friends that she's part of, that she likes to impress, who have helped her reach her political goals. Somebody who helps you reach your goals, you like to impress. You see how that works? This is why these politicians, bend backwards to anybody who funds their campaign or makes them a star. Sarkozy is clear he's taking orders from the 1%. Macron, I keep saying, and Sarkozy. The 1% told Sarkozy to go into Libya, probably the 1% could, and are not that stupid, could have predicted that, you know, not only Libyan oil, we're gonna have Libyan oil, but also Libyan labor in France, or black labor in France. I don't know what the 1% are thinking that push politicians to make such stupid decisions. But this is the result, because, you know, the 1% who like to dominate, usually their ideas don't pan well for society as at large, because, you know, the 1%, when you give them the right to run the society becomes wild, because the 1% prefer it wild, because they are by personality wise, they are wild, they like to dominate, they are carnal. You never want to listen to the 1%, because they're carnal. They like to dominate. This ends up in very violent societies. And in the case of Western Europe, this is what has happened. You have bureaucratic politicians who are listening to the 1% who like to dominate and don't like to share, and are okay with peasants dying again by the millions. Hopefully Trump, being, you know, I don't hold too much hope for him, but the idea is that, you know, in business he likes to dominate. So his business side will want to go to war with every country because he wants to dominate. But then his smarts, that little part that is smarter than a bureaucrat, you know, you have to, in working for yourself as Trump does, you have to be smarter than a bureaucrat, because bureaucrat just has to say yes and no and follow orders. You know, if you work for yourself, you have to be a little smarter. Not every bureaucrat can be a businessman or do business for themselves. My point is this: Trump may have a chance, because he's smarter than your average bureaucrat, may have a chance to understand that sense of domination that he has in business is the one that is going to get to war, the result in war. So if you want peace, you have to try to share. You have to try to respect your customer, you have to try to respect your supplier, and not try to cut both the supplier and the customer, cut short both the supplier and customer. If he understands this, which hopefully by this late in his life, probably he understands. And by missing that bullet, probably he has understood a little more. Maybe he understands that, you know, a good businessman is a long-lasting businessman, and you can't do people wrong and get away with it and stay in business for long. So that's a lesson that, you know, you learn through many years of business. I feel Trump has learned the motto. In order to be in business, you can't do everybody wrong. You have to share. Let the supplier and the customer share in the profits. But Europe, Germany, please, Germany, my fellow Germans, you have to get rid of these politicians, or you're going to cut your population down to half again. again,